Yeah. What's going on, everybody? Rob and Peter here, back for another video. This time, as you saw in the title, discussing the significance, or maybe perhaps the lack of significance, of the Ohio State Michigan game, the rivalry, the biggest in all of college sports. Is it still that anymore? Obviously, Ohio State won the national championship with losing to Michigan this past season. And so there's been somewhat of a split and a fracture both online, on 11 Warriors, on Twitter, all over social media between what does that game actually mean? Rob, what does it mean to you heading into this 2025 season?
Look, you know that I do not like that team up north as much as the next Ohio State fan. I
Yeah.
hope they lose every single game. I hope their program gets wiped off the face of this planet. Just can't stand to, cheer for them. Everyone's like, oh, but you went to Michigan. You live in the state of Michigan. How you can be an Ohio State fan? You know, you should at least cheer for them if they're not playing Ohio State. No, I just can't do it. My heart just cannot do it. I'm a Buckeye through and through.
Yes, sir.
So as much as the next Buckeye fan who absolutely loves when Ohio State beats Michigan, I will say that, one thing that I always looked at during the Urban Meyer era, he went 7-0 versus Michigan, even has a
Mhm.
bar named had a bar named 7-0. But the
Yeah.
one thing that I always got, jealous of was, seeing Alabama. Uh,
Mm.
at the end of the day, they went on and won national championships
Sure.
under Urban Meyer. Ohio State, yes, they won their national championship, but at the same time, they underperformed. They missed the playoffs due to games they should not have lost.
Yeah,
I was
major
at one of those
upsets.
games, 2015 Michigan State. 2000. Well, they got to the playoffs in 2016, but got absolutely blasted by Clemson. You lost. Iowa in 2017 after a great comeback against Penn State. Then you lost to 2018 to Purdue. That's
Yep.
you're out of the playoffs. And it's just like, okay, but you go on and beat Michigan and all as well. Now see, fast forward to the Ryan Day era. Yes, he's still losing to Michigan, but this national championship really sweet. And now that the expanded playoffs are, upon us, they're going to be expanded even more. It's just like, okay, do we even care anymore if Ohio State beats Michigan, or is it more about national championships now? Now, again, as much as the next Ohio State fan love beating Michigan, but that national championship felt really sweet. I mean, it's the
Yeah.
biggest crown in all of college football. Let me
Mhm.
put it this way, dude. No one, you know, n- once the confetti falls and that team is hoisting the national championship trophy, no one's thinking about the regular season anymore. They're thinking about, oh my gosh, Ohio State is at the top of college football right now.
Yeah. It
Yeah.
is the ultimate prize. There's no denying that. I mean, it's the ultimate of the sport. There is nothing more important than winning a national title and crowning your season and ending your season at the top of the sport. Correct. I agree with that. Now, I do definitely. Somebody asked me this question the other day. One of my buddies who's not as big of a college football fan. He asked me, which how does this season feel to you? Like, yeah, you won the national championship, but you lost to Michigan. I was like, well, I'll be completely honest. I valued 2002 and 2014 above a 2024 national title because they did all three. They beat Michigan, won the Big Ten title, and won the national championship. And so, to me, it's a more complete season. Now, I'm a traditionalist and I'm a very old school mindset. And as you know, Robert, you and I discussed all these things over the years of having this channel. That I am that way. I am slow to adapt to changes, and so it's harder for me to let the Michigan game go. It's not one I want to let go. As I see Oregon and Oregon State aren't playing anymore, Oklahoma State don't play anymore. All these rivalries are going away because of the professionalization of the sport, and it's hard to argue your point because there is nothing bigger than a national championship. Period. End of story. Like, that's the best prize you can get. But to me, the season does feel incomplete. The 2024 season. I know I'm in the minority now in the Ohio State fan base with that opinion, but that's just where I'm at.
I mean, let me put it this way. To me, like, yes, I don't care what anyone says. It's the biggest rivalry in all of college football. It's the game where talent doesn't matter what's on paper. Whoever shows up prepared, ready to go to war, that's who's gonna win the game. And
True.
the being a 20-point underdog, Michigan came in and just outdueled Ohio State in the shoe. That just proves that it's who wants it more. But
with the heart,
there wasn't that much emphasis on it because it's just like, okay, in years past, it's just like winner goes on the Big Ten championship in the playoffs and loser stays home. There's just nothing after that. And just like, okay, now that there's an expanded playoffs, Ohio State could afford to lose that game and they still went on the national championship rather than, let's go to 2016. That was a gigantic game. I mean, winner went on to, Ohio State didn't go on to the Big Ten championship, but they were able to go on compete in the playoffs. 2018, all Michigan had to do was beat Ohio State, and they're in the playoffs. Ohio State sent them packing. Then you had 2021, 2022, 2023.
Sure.
As painful as talk about that, Michigan got the best of Ohio State, sent them packing. Michigan goes on to the Big Ten championship and the playoffs. I mean, that magic, that just extra, zest, it's gone, dude. And all this talk, well, they can meet up in the playoffs again. Like, what are the chances of that happening? I mean, or they can go on and compete in the Big Ten championship, or they can play 3 times a season. I mean, dude, like the odds of that, the probability of that, I'm not holding my breath.
The odds of playing 3 times is pretty low. I think the odds of playing twice are, depending on how Michigan holds up their end of the bargain, are fairly high. I mean, Georgia and Texas, they could have rematched last year after the SEC championship game, but yeah, it is definitely a new era, man, and it's definitely taking me time to adjust. And like I said, I haven't adjusted yet. If I'm completely honest, my mindset has not shifted to the game being less important. Although I know it has been devalued because last year was a prime example of it. I don't want it to be. I don't want that to be the case. But unfortunately, that's the ultimate truth. The game was devalued last year. And, Michigan is trying to hang their hat on a rivalry win and, saying it was a good season. That's a bygone era, unfortunately. It's a bygone era.
I mean, yeah, there's absolutely going to be bragging rights. I mean, let me put it like the excitement of just playing the game is not going to go away. But let's be honest, man, with all the extra, playoffs are on the line and everything else, like it's just, that's what made it like really, really intense, dude. Like, oh my gosh, like if we lose this game, you could say goodbye to the national championship. And it's just like, that's, going back to the point, that's no longer anymore. And again, dude, no one's going to be talking about the regular season once it's over. Remember so I think it was 2016 or 2017 when Alabama lost to Auburn and they won on the national championship, where people talking about, hey, like, where people talking like, hey, you guys lost to Auburn, where they're talking about, oh my gosh, Alabama won the national championship, or even 2021 when Georgia won the national championship, they lost to Alabama in the SEC championship. But I know it's a completely different thing because they went on to beat Alabama in the national championship, but no one's talking about how they lost. Everyone's talking about how, okay, Georgia's at the top of college football, dude. I mean,
who won the national championship?
It just goes for any sport. Remember when not trying to go down a rabbit hole here. Yeah. Remember when the Warriors had the regular season record?
Yeah, 73-9.
Everybody remembers how they blew a 3-1 lead to LeBron James and the Cleveland Cavaliers, dude.
It's true. It's true.
The ultimate prize in any sport, which is a championship, There's nothing greater than that.
Yeah. The thing that makes it a little interesting for us is that we are reminded every time we go online because of where we live and the shows that we watch and places we go around. We are reminded because we live in Michigan, and we can throw it back in their face. We're national champions, and they can pretend that they don't care, but they do. But they ultimately do have the bragging right over us for this past year.
Yeah, man.
Um,
Four in a row. That's great.
yeah,
But
I,
any Michigan fans or Ohio State fans, let me pose this question. So let's say that Michigan continues to beat Ohio State, but yet
which I
Ohio State
which I think they will.
makes it further in the playoffs and wins the national championship. Are Michigan fans
I,
really going to be happy and content with beating Ohio State in the regular season, but yet watching their rivals consistently hoist that national championship trophy? Same as Ohio State fans. Ohio State fans, would you be just ultimately happy? Would you be
I
ultimately
think
happy watching Ohio State beat Michigan in the regular season, but Michigan going to win the national championships? Because I'll tell you right now, dude, under the Urban
yeah,
Meyer era, yes, it was awesome beating Michigan, but not getting that ultimate goal,
you're right.
it got old after a
Well,
while.
I think the hole in that argument, and you're not wrong, but I think the hole in that argument, I think that only holds sway if you go on to win the national championship. If we reach the quarterfinals or just the semifinals, Michigan still got the bragging rights, over Ohio State in that instance, or us over them, whoever won the game that year. I think it only holds true if you go on to win the national title. I think a semifinal appearance essentially means nothing because it's an expanded playoff. And I'll just be honest. I'm not a fan of the playoff era. I really am not a fan of the playoff era. It is what it is, so I got to accept it. But
I'll tell you why,
I
man.
liked that the regular season meant something in college football, and I'm a little disappointed that the regular season is watered down now, and it's just about the playoffs. Like that really disappoints me big time. But it is what it is, and I got to adjust my mindset somehow.
Hey, man, remember we were talking about this before Ohio State
Yeah.
went on to win the national championship. I guess you came around just a little bit.
For,
I feel like you're closer to the finish line where
yeah, I am.
so
Yeah, I am closer. I don't think the Big Ten matters as much because of unbalanced schedules. Like Penn State this year, they got one tough game, Oregon at home, and they don't play anybody else. So making the Big Ten championship game is very hard to do, but winning over Michigan, like you saw how much it meant to the players post game that they lost that game this
yeah.
year.
Oh yeah, we did.
Like
We did. Big time.
even with the expanded playoff, that game still, and maybe it's a holdover from the old era because this was just the first year of the 12-team playoff, and maybe things will change down the road. In fact, I'm probably certain that they will. But this group of seniors that never beat them, I'm glad they regrouped and recalibrated and stuck together instead of disbanding, because we ended up winning the national championship, and that can't be taken away. But it definitely meant a lot to that group of seniors to go out winless versus them. What do you think this will mean for Ryan Day's career? In this year, it's 2025. He has a chance to go, win his second rivalry game versus Michigan. But we've got Penn State on the schedule. That's a big game. But what does this game mean for Ryan Day? Ryan Day moving forward? Does the Ohio State fan base completely tear him apart if he loses to Michigan again, or is it kind of the shift that I've seen taking place where they give him grace and we'll see where he does in the playoffs?
Like that class that didn't beat Michigan, they're gone.
Yeah,
The players are coming back. They experience that pain, that pain. They watch the flag get planted. They
right.
watch their brothers fight their rivals pretty much
Yeah,
almost to the death if the police
freaking
weren't to
brawl.
step in. And just like, dude, it's time for a new era. Just reshaping what it is for Ohio State to beat Michigan and get back on track. Now, I know it's not going to be every year, but Ryan Day needs to prove that, okay, like this is another big game. I got over the other big games. I won the team won the national championship, but this is the game that has been his kryptonite.
Right.
He needs to go in to the big house, play Ohio State football, stop trying to be something that you're not against this team. Don't try to be the more physical team, but play Ohio State. I mean, yes, physicality is key, but play Ohio State football, man. They have speed. They can play the perimeter. Just go with what works for them. That's all I got to say, man. Like,
yeah. I think there's been so many cooks in the kitchen that he's listened to. Remember this past offseason, or a year ago at this time, he was talking to Cooper and then Tressel and Urban and all these people asking for advice. Well, I mean, he's still around Columbus and whatnot at the coaches clinic and whatnot. And I think there's so many people trying to instill in Ryan Day the importance of this game that it almost cripples him, and maybe he'll come back as evil Ryan Day. I hope he's overcome that with this playoff run that he went on. But I just feel like that game specifically gets in his head because people weren't making those threats to his kids at school after the Oregon game. They're making those threats to his kids after the Michigan game.
Yeah.
And it's just different. I think it will fade, unfortunately. I just have to accept that that's reality. It's not going back to the way things used to be. I mean, and I understand that. So
here's the thing, man. You bring up, all these cooks in the kitchen, all these people in his ear. He needs to look deep inside himself and think about what this game means to Columbus. Like what this game means at Ohio State. Is it just going to be another game? Or is it going to mean everything, like it did to Tressel, like it did to Meyer, like it did to Hayes, like it did to Bruce? I'm not going to bring up Cooper because I honestly don't know what the game meant to him. I mean, dude,
2-10-1.
Yeah, so that's not a good example. He doesn't need dude, like honestly, if he just goes in the big house and plays to their strengths and not playing to Michigan's hand like he did in the 2024 game, I think they'll be fine.
Okay, that's good. I hope they will. I mean, it's a freshman, Bryce Underwood. He's going to be looking a lot different at the end of the year than he will at the start. Same for Julian Sayin, our starting quarterback this year. It's going to improve throughout the year. But I hope he can get over the hump in that Michigan game. I mean, he already got over the hump with these top 5 and top 10 wins in the playoff run, and obviously Penn State and Indiana during the regular season last year. But we're gonna find out Ryan Day if he's gonna be up for the task here in 2025. There's a lot of uncertainty. Obviously, the Texas game is up first, but it's gonna be a fun season, man. And we're getting close to it, man. It's mid-June already. And it's not that far away as we count down the college football season. So leave below what you think. Has the game diminished in importance? Is it still the ultimate end-all, be-all? Or has the playoff changed things forever, for the good or the worse? Leave your comments down below. We'd love to hear from you. That's going to do it for this one. Go Bucks and God bless. We'll see you on the next one.
OH.
IO.